Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca, and here on my little corner of the web, I like to talk about budgeting and lifestyle, and today I am sharing my 2021 quarter four net worth update. So I'm a little behind. I should have filmed this last month, but my life has just been kind of crazy as I've been taking on more work from my business that I recently launched, and just taking a step back from trying to do YouTube consistently because it just wasn't in the heart of why I started this channel. But I wanted to film this before the end of the year, and I track my net worth every quarter or every month, but it doesn't change a whole lot. So there's only exciting growth about every quarter. So I wanted to share that today. So your net worth, if you have never heard of that, is your assets minus your liabilities. So that's everything you own, which is assets, minus everything you owe, which is a liability. Super easy to track, and there's a ton of info out there if you want to learn more about that. But I start usually from like biggest to smallest. So our biggest asset is our house. So if you're new to my channel, I live with my husband Jared in the North Dallas area, and we own our home. And right now, it is worth about $225,000. So Zillow actually says it's worth $240,000, but I just don't really feel comfortable, putting that since it's so much higher than what we paid. We bought it about a year ago in September of 2020 for $185,000. So it's definitely great how much this has impacted our net worth, but I want to stay on the conservative side of that. And then I track our cars, and these are the only other material assets that we track. Jared has a lot of expensive music equipment because he is a musician, and I have my ring, but we don't track anything else just because it feels kind of minuscule and like a lot of work to write all that stuff down. So my Prius is currently worth $8,060, and it's we definitely drive older cars. Mine is a 2010 and Jared's is a 2003, and his is worth $29,60. But we own our cars outright, and they are safe and reliable, so we do not mind having older cars. And then next we have our checking account. We keep a checking account buffer of about 1 month of expenses, which is $3,500, and keep this because we are both kind of self-employed, so our income comes in at different times during the month. It's not standard, so this is just to make sure that we would never be negative in our account if a bill is due before we get paid. So it kind of works as like an emergency fund, but we just pretend that that money does not exist when we do our monthly budget. So then our emergency fund, this is very exciting. You'll see in my December, I don't know why I put an S there, in my December wrap-up video, we just completed our goal of hitting $10,000. So we've been working on this since the summer, since we hit our last financial goal, which was paying off all of my student loan debt. So yay, we hit this in 2021, and now we can move on to some other things for a while before we try to go back and do the next step of this. And then after the fund is our sinking funds, and this one fluctuates a lot because we're like constantly spending money out of it. So it was pretty high for a while, but we just most of it was travel saving for a really big trip that we're taking to Europe next summer, and we just booked most of our accommodations for that. We booked our flights, and 2 of our big Airbnbs. We're staying in Florence for a month and in Paris for a month. So that kind of wiped out that travel fund, but I wanted to do that before too long so that we would still have some good options. So right now it only has this has all of our sinking funds, and there's only about $1,200 in there, which is totally fine. It's not meant to be a huge account. And then so we have several different investment accounts. So one of them is a Schwab single stock investments, and Jared banked with Schwab before we got married, and so that's just something that they offer, and he just got kind of interested in some single stocks actually right before and during the beginning of the pandemic. He was super excited about it, so he bought some, and we don't focus a ton of effort in that. It's just kind of fun to have, and it's about $29.77. And then we have before we got married,
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oh,
sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Sorry, Siri is talking to me. Oh, don't listen to me. Sorry about that. Anyway, I had an Acorns account before we got married, and if you haven't heard of Acorns, it's a online app where you link your bank accounts and then it invests your spare change. So what it does is like every time you hit $5, so if you have like a purchase, say your purchase was for $10.70, well, it would take 30 cents and invest it. But instead of doing like a bunch of tiny transactions, what it does is it waits till you have $5 in those like little spare change amounts and then it invests it. So it doesn't really work the way it says it works, because instead of being like, oh, I didn't mind that I had $11 come out of my account, it actually is like, oh, $10 extra came out of my account for this specific expense at one time. But that's totally fine. It's not like a huge deal. It's the same amount of money either way. But I just had that, and I had it going like when I was in college, just for fun and to like get some investing in, but I was not really focusing on it, and I was not making very much. There was definitely not a lot in there, and now it doesn't really grow very much, but there is 2163 in there. So those are just two small things that we're not focusing on, because we are focusing on, this is where we're like actively adding money every month to my Roth IRA and to Jared's Roth IRA. So my Roth IRA is through Acorns because I opened it before we got married and like I had access to a Schwab account. And I have just been adding a little bit to it every month. And I am 24, so I, have a lot more time than Jared is 32, but mine has 2724 in it. So we are definitely hoping to beef that up a lot more now that we've finished our emergency fund. We're working the baby steps, so we're doing our best. But Jared's, which I just opened this summer, has 996. So that one definitely needs to catch up. But the total of all of our assets is 259,580. So definitely mostly our house. We do not have a lot of like liquid cash. And then our liability, so our only liability now that we've paid off my student loans is the house. And when we bought it, we only put 5% down, but we're actually almost, I haven't done the math recently, so we probably would be at 20% equity based on like what the market says our house is worth, but we are still paying PMI because that's what was the agreement, and we have to like do an appraisal to get that taken off. And I don't want to do that until I'm like for certain that we would be okay. And the PMI that we pay is like $50 a month, so it's not a huge deal. But we currently owe $178.04. So in the last 3 months, I think in my last quarter 3 update, which was in August, we owed $172. So not very much of our overall monthly mortgage payment goes to bringing down the principal, but we're not too worried about it because the interest rate's only 2.875%. So our assets minus liabilities of 259. Oh, I don't know why I wrote this wrong. That's not a 3. It's supposed to be 580 minus 178.04. And let me do the math on that real quick because I had calculated this wrong. This is where this watch comes in handy. 259,580 minus 178.04 equals 88,776. So that is our current net worth, which is pretty great. In my last video, I had hoped that we would be at 100,000 by the end of the year, but I didn't know if that was possible. And at the same time, I had just got my job and one of my jobs, and I didn't know what that would look like as far as like income coming in during the second half of the year. So we definitely have had lower income, obviously since quitting that job. So it's taking us a little bit longer to reach our goals, but that is totally okay. And we're definitely in a season where other things are more important to us. But, so in my last video, our net worth, like I said, was around 72,000. So the change over 3 months from then to now is $16,639. So a little bit slower progress, but still a great amount of increase at such a small kind of net worth and age. So that's really exciting, and I love calculating these and sharing these quarterly updates. So let me know down in the comments how your net worth has changed over the last quarter. Share your celebrations and your wins, because I love supporting each other. And I will see you guys all next year, and I'm really hoping for a great 2022. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great year. Bye.